thought that picking a flip phone in 2022 would have actually been a thing again? 15 years after the flat slab took over, we're finally at a time when grabbing a flip phone is aspirational. Sure, some companies are still struggling to figure themselves out, but Samsung is not one of them. The original Z Flip and its 5G successor were not necessarily products I felt were ready for mass adoption, but I'd say the next two generations are bold enough to earn their own comparison. On one corner, we have the Galaxy Z Flip 4, Samsung's latest upgrade to the most successful foldable of all time, and on the other, we have precisely that phone. The Galaxy Z Flip 3 took the world by storm with its looks, durability, and aggressive price. You could judge a book by its cover and think there are no real differences between them, but the story is not precisely that. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocket Now, and let's see which phone you should get. If you already own a Galaxy Z Flip 3 and live in the United States, let me just spare you the need to watch the entire video. If you're wondering if it's worth it to upgrade, my immediate answer is of course, but only if you watch this video in time to take advantage of the trade-in deals. Currently, Samsung is giving you an insane $900 in trade-in value for a Z Flip 3, plus store credit, a memory upgrade, your choice for a case, and even added discounts on the Galaxy Watch 5 or Buds 2 Pro. Seriously, you'd be crazy not to upgrade for all that gravy, because you're pretty much getting paid to upgrade if you do the math, so links in the description. If you're late, then the trade-in value probably dropped in half, so yeah, watch the rest of the video because the decision has become more complicated. Visually, both phones are just as gorgeous, and when it comes to functionality, they both excel at giving you a larger screen when you need it, that then collapses when you don't. In most things, I'd say they're nearly identical unless you nitpick for what's changed. The Flip 4 is actually a hair shorter and narrower than the Flip 3, even if they're both the same width and the Flip 4 is actually 4 grams heavier. Part of this reduction in footprint is because of the new hinge design, even if most of you won't be able to notice the difference or consider the crease to get any less prominent. Actually, the best way to tell them apart is because the Flip 3 has the matte rails I visually prefer, even if I'm kind of torn because I also feel the same way about the flat design of the Flip 4, which makes it less prone to fall off a table. The new variant also has a more modern Gorilla Glass Victus Plus in matte versus glossy Victus, even if both share the same armor aluminum rigidity. Colors are obviously different, but I'll say that I like the options offered at launch, plus everything that Bespoke gives you, with this cream and pink gold being my favorites. Now, flip them open and things continue to look the same, but they're not. The ultra-thin glass on the Flip 4 is 45% stronger, and the bezels got a minor shrink in footprint. This allows them both to share the same 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X that provides up to 1200 nits of brightness, HDR10 Plus support, plus pretty awesome color reproduction and viewing angles. Each is capable of variable 120Hz, though where I do find differences is actually in the speakers. The matte finish from the past or the shinier approach, which not sure if it's just me, but I feel the Flip 4 provides much fuller sound than the Flip 3, even if the latter is no slouch. Elements to help you easily wear or their biggest difference is internal, and mainly because even if it sounds like just a generational change in chips, actually it's more like 4 generations. The Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 is a far more modern and efficient architecture than the 888 on last year's Flip, and even the 2 generations of chips in between. RAM is the same, but then you get an extra tier for storage on the Flip 4, along with more modern Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a much larger battery, faster charging on all ends, and about the only thing they share is the water resistance rating, which means water is fine but no dust. Now, the experience operating these phones is not necessarily different. This is that phone you can flip open with one hand like in the old days to take a call, or close it shut to end it. The hinge doesn't necessarily make it easy, but it serves the second purpose of helping you prop it up for content capture or consumption. The outer screen also didn't really change much, and aside from a couple of added widgets and controls on the Flip 4, I can't really say that it's much better than the Flip 3 in this regard. Same thing with the experience using One UI. I can't tell if one is quicker than the other, or that the Flip 4 performs any better because the Flip 3 is almost as good. New tricks like the trackpad on the Flip 4 are gimmicks you'll probably never use and which might reach the Flip 3 eventually with a software update. I also consider their 5G connectivity to be comparable as I tested them, and I feel the same about phone calls. It's not until you reach endurance that you'll notice the major differences. The added efficiency of the new chip plus the larger battery on the Flip 4 does make this a phone that can last all day, where the Flip 3 wasn't really fit for the task. I say can because if you tax it hard you might not achieve the goal, but at least I can say things got better from one year to the next. Then the cameras are an interesting story because even if the company made changes to the primary shooter on the new Flip 4, the rest of the sensors are pretty much the same across the board. Obviously, with the new ISP and the added computational prowess of the new chip on the Flip 4, things are not necessarily the same, but I'll let the results speak for themselves. You'll notice it mostly with how photos are processed differently on the Flip 4, as saturation is a bit more prominent, even if detail is pretty much the same. It could just be that this is a larger sensor. The good thing is that neither phone does it excessively if you want to do edits in post, and that both phones can pull some good dynamic range and bokeh from close-ups. Switch the cameras and obviously the differences are less evident given their similarities, but I have to say that I like the results from both, and I do feel the 2x crop can be somewhat useful for street photography, even if not ideal given there's no physical change in focal length. Switch on over to night mode, and this is where the Flip 4 shines more than the Flip 3 in being able to tackle complicated scenarios better. Neither is what I'd call my favorite in this department, but if you're willing to hold them steady for a bit, it doesn't mean you can't get some pretty good shots. Now, portraits and selfies are where things go beyond conventional because you really don't need to use the internal camera. Now, those results are as good as every other Samsung flagship, but closing this phone allows you to use the primary cameras for better shots. The Flip 4 addressed the squared photo limitations of the 3 and even gives you the option for portrait shots where the Flip 3 only does photos or videos. And speaking of those, I wouldn't say either of these phones is still in iPhone territory, but the videos coming out of both are pretty good. Stabilization is well tuned, colors are subtle, and so long as you have enough light warping as you walk won't be a problem. You also can record selfie videos with the primary if you shut the phone, but even the internal camera gives you pretty crisp 4K at 60 frames per second with some pretty good results for an Android phone at least. To conclude, I think it's interesting to see that even with minor progressions between each generation, I like the fact that Samsung only changed what was broken because the rest didn't really need to get fixed. The Galaxy Z Flip 4 is just as sexy as its predecessor, and yet all while on a more efficient design, it solves a lot of the battery life endurance issues and provides extra horsepower to the experience, which even extends to the camera. If I had to pick a winner, it's obvious that I'd go for the Z Flip 4. Listen, as much as I wanted to love the Z Flip 3, its battery life alone was enough for me to feel a conventional flagship was still a better solution for the price. If you currently own a Z Flip 3, I hope you're still in time to take advantage of the trade-in deals and pre-order time. If you didn't, then sure, I don't blame you for thinking twice about upgrading so quickly for improvements that aren't really substantial for many people. Now, if you're on the ropes between a discounted Z Flip 3 and a new Flip 4, I'd go Flip 4 any day. I think any sort of price difference is worth it if you're looking for a pleasant experience with what I'd call the best foldable in town right now, and also, once again, one of the best looking and most pleasant phones to use in 2022. Now, let me know if you agree with my assessment in the comments down below, and while you're at it, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can also follow me on my personal handles to see me make the hard decisions for you, because it's really hard to pick between these devices. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.